we're excited to talk to you about this movie because it's a whole lot of fun. It's silly, it's funny, it's totally crazy. So you got to be excited that now that I know it's been done for a while, that people can finally see it, right?
Exciting beyond belief.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and
well,
and the
Ellen?
response that we've been getting so far, I'm a tough customer. Ray will tell you that, and it's blowing my mind how much fun people are having, with this movie and the laughs that they're getting, and they're getting a lot of the stuff that I didn't even get on the first seeing.
yeah. Yeah, and that's got to be a kind of funny thing for you, as director, to you put this out there because, initially, not everyone might see the vision of this, right?
For sure.
Different than most horror comedies you'll see, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because sometimes horror comedies work, sometimes they don't work. And what do you think it is the magic formula that to where you could get some laughs, but also give the people, the horror people what they want?
Yeah, it's a tough combination to try, and I think one of the things you have to do is a lot of joke testing because you write something and you just think it's hilarious, and then the cast will read it and it's just flat. But we constantly had to kind of rework some of the jokes and everything. But I think the main thing, we had such a good cast and we just played to their natural abilities. And I think you just kind of gravitate to the characters, and that's kind of what makes the humor work.
Yeah, absolutely. And for both of you, I know that this was, probably it's definitely a labor of love, as any indie film is. But do you have a certain memory from the set that both of you thought about and were like, you know what? I'm always going to remember this day. This was a good day.
Not
For,
Alan, jump in.
I think for me, doing that opening where I'm sitting there doing a recollection, and I was able to kind of go on a riff of, we were bamboozled, they were conned, that's kind of like off of a Spike Lee, Malcolm X type of thing. I was able to
Yep.
do a riff on that. And I think Ray bringing me in at the beginning, I think it helps tie things together. That's my thought.
Hmm.
Yeah, for me, we had gotten rained out a number of days, so we were really behind that last day. And of course, we're shooting our biggest scene at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's the big fight scene. And we've got 15 stunt people, most of the cast there. Everybody's tired. It's cold. They want to go home. And we got through it. And our director, Jody Stelzick, did a great job at doing the choreography of the fight scenes and everything. We ended up, three of us were kind of directing different segments and everything, and just real pleased at how it went off. It was it was really challenging at the time, especially with everybody being so tired and cold.
Yeah. Well, Alan, this probably sounds familiar. Running out of time, crazy weather, and then this probably in ways reminded you of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre set, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And that was no walk in the park. I mean, that was brutal conditions, and it was like Africa hot,
Yeah.
filming chainsaw. And then in that van with the windows up, no AC.
Uh,
Toby's smoking a cigar like Eric von Stroheim. That's a whole other ballgame.
But
yeah, that's
Alan, didn't they film that like in June when it was like 100 degrees, and then you guys had to go in the house where they had real animal
Bones
meat in there?
and meat. Yeah, it was July. It was really my birthday's in July, so we were filming, around that time. And actually, they worked around my schedule because I was doing a camp. My background is in social work. It's not in acting. If you see some of the reviews of Chainsaw, you know why. And so, so it was unbelievable, and you could see it. People. It's almost like a documentary. When
Mhm.
you watch Chainsaw, it's the sweat. It was awful, awful.
Yeah. Well, I love that both of you have been able to make films that you want to make and do things that you want to do. And people look up to you. And I'm sure a lot of people on the set had a lot of questions. But what kind of advice would each of you give to somebody that wants to make films and tell great stories?
I think you just got to persevere because it's clearly, you know, um, the law that whatever goes wrong will go wrong. And if you got Thomas Edison on the set, he says that light's going to work. It ain't going to work. But you're constantly having to overcome problems, as you know. You're doing the indie film, and and things go wrong. They go wrong on professional sets too, but you just don't have the budget, you know. So that's the things.
Hmm.
The time and the money is constantly ticking against you.
Yeah. What would you say, Alan?
Well, it just reminded me about doing Chainsaw. I mean, I think the budget really started out at about $45,000.
Oh my
None of
God.
us thought the movie would come out, you
Hmm.
know. And as I've said, Toby called me in one time to look at the rushes, and he said, "Alan, how do you think what should I do to improve the movie?" And I said, "Have the seats facing away from the screen." And he didn't like that. He didn't like that, and that tells you how little I knew, because Quentin Tarantino refers to it as a perfect movie.
Yeah.
So I think you got to
I
have a
did think of
belief,
one.
that
I did think of one.
what you're doing is
Are
the
you
right
finished?
thing. What were we saying, Ray?
Yeah, I did think of one really great piece of advice that the Coen brothers do. They
Oh
would
yeah.
hire their crew and everybody on Thursday. So if somebody didn't work out, they could fire them on Friday and have time over the weekend to pick somebody else up. So I thought that was pretty hilarious.
And honestly, the original guy that was supposed to play Leatherface
Hmm.
was an alcoholic or whatnot, and wouldn't come on set, and so that's how they got Gunnar Hansen. You know,
Oh,
and when Gunnar showed up and he just filled the room, he's 6'5", he got the part right away. They didn't realize what a terrific guy he was, and that how he made that movie. As did Bob Burns with the
yeah.
props. You know what I mean? It was just getting lightning in a bottle. That's not easy.
Hmm.
I'm
That's
hoping we
true.
got a little bit of that in the
Yeah.
massacre.
Absolutely. And what were you saying about the advice to kids that want to do what you do, Alan?
What's that? Yeah,
Alan, what were you saying?
got,
Yeah, the
you
advice.
you've got to have that belief,
Yeah.
and don't let anybody, dissuade you from
Hmm.
doing it. Now, another thing, and that's a tribute to Ray, is when things went wrong or whatnot on the set, his equanimity, his calmness, his ability to laugh at stuff made a big difference. Whereas, people would freak out on Chainsaw, but they were stoned a good part of the time. So that's another.
I love it. So you'll like this. My co-host is Drew Pearson, one of our great Dallas Cowboys, caught the Hail Mary, went in the Hall of Fame.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're asking everybody their Hail Mary moment, the moment in your life or career you just had to go for it and it worked out for you. What do you suppose that was for both of you?
I think for me, it was just getting enough guts and money to make my very first film, Writer's Block, and got on set, had no idea what I was doing. We had the usual a couple drama queens on set that kind of made life miserable, but we got through it. And again, just having the tapes in your hand, when it's all said and done, you're going to go and edit, and you're like, Hail Mary, this is awesome, you know. So I did watch the Hail Mary catch on TV when I was a kid
Yeah.
and love Drew Pearson. He's amazing.
Ah, that's great. How about for you, Alan?
I guess in a way it was saying yes to Toby.
Yeah.
His first movie was a movie called Eggshells. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
seen that movie,
Mm.
but I was doing social work with a young couple that the movie was ostensibly about. It was basically like a psychedelic hippy dippy movie, but there's some great techniques that Toby shows in that movie. And so he asked if he can film a scene with me. At the time I was married, and my son is like 8 months old. I had a parrot back then. Oh, what a deal! What a deal! But anyway, they did the scene, and they kept adding scenes for me to do. The movie comes out. Nobody saw that movie, and then 4 years later, I get a call from Toby or Kim. I don't remember which one, and they said we wrote this movie and we have a part that we'd like you to play. I didn't have to audition for it because, like I said, I didn't study acting. I wasn't a thespian by any means, but my answers saying, yeah, I'll do it. I guess that's a Hail Mary moment.
I love that. Part of that we talk about on the show is that success mindset that you have to just get through these sets and get through everything. And conditions aren't always easy. What is it that both of you keep in mind that kind of keeps you on the right path always?
Well,
For
for
me,
me,
it's
I try to.
my trust in
Oh,
my
go ahead,
trust in,
Alan. You first.
my trust in Ray, because I was in a movie that he'd written called Storage Locker, and he was kind enough to to write the scene for me, and then getting through it. And I think I got a standing ovation. I think it's just that they were happy that I could finish my lines. But so that kind of belief that he knew what he was doing better than
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me on this one is I was just so happy to have Alan headline the movie. You know, we were co-partners in doing this, and I just really wanted it to turn out really well for him, and then again just try to be calm and we had like about a 22-day shoot, and that's not long obviously for most films, but for indies that's kind of right there, and um, just again just staying calm when things don't go right, and just never, people make mistakes. You got to understand that you're going to make mistakes. That's the biggest part. You got to understand that.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, there's a lot of horror movies out there. There's a lot of horror comedy out there. But what is it about this for both of you that stands out, that's special to you?
Well, I think for me it was our cast.
Yeah.
God, they were so good, and we brought in some people that hadn't acted before, and they were absolutely perfect. One of the safety issues that we're constantly battling is when we first had the Weed Hacker, it was actually a gas-powered one, and it had some metal blades. Our director had kind of cut it and built it, and we were all a little terrified because Sean Reno, who plays Pokerface, is also 6'5", and he was about 292 pounds. He puts on the mask and the hair, and like people were parting the Red Sea to get away from him. But we were constantly worried about having that, and then we used various versions of the Weed Hacker, in an electric version and props and things like that. But you got this little three-pronged little blade, and so you're constantly worried that he's just trying to do all these gyrations and everything. We're like, no.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, that's really great. And Alan, what was special to you for this one?
What was special to me was the music.
Yeah.
And the fellow that wrote the music, his name is Britton Buchanan. And
Mhm.
Britton Buchanan, if you're not familiar with him, was runner-up on The Voice at the age
Yeah.
of 18. And he was also a horror buff. And he contacted me, and I watched him on TV with some friends. I like watching The Voice, and he
Yeah.
asked me to do a podcast with me. And he got all my he saw I had music, Fleetwood Mac and James Taylor and all the old 80s and stuff.
Yeah.
And he got all of that. He got my humor, and we became really good friends. In fact, he wrote the song "The Ballad of Chainsaw Jerry,"
Yeah.
which he reworked for the ballad of Weed Hacker
Weed Hacker
Willie.
Willie.
And
Yeah.
actually, the words are even better for Weed Hacker Willie. So the fact that he wrote that song and another song, "Hammer to the Head," which is a great song, and it just fits perfectly. It could be a #1 hit, is really what it could be. And he's in the movie. Also, another fellow that's in it briefly is Sean Hates, who did Cannibal Comedian, and I did the voiceover for the beginning of Cannibal Comedian, and Ed Neal, the hitchhiker from Chainsaw,
Yeah.
did the ending. So this is like a renaissance for me, with Weed Hacker coming out, Cannibal Comedian. I'm also in My Dinner with Leatherface. That's a documentary that's out now. And if you didn't know Gunnar, what a wonderful guy he was, you
Yeah.
get to know him. And
Hmm.
there's also a documentary that's also out called Chain Reactions, and it's about how it changed their life. You
Oh
know
yeah.
how this movie, and Patton Oswalt is terrific in it. They've got some Japanese directors. I said, who would have thought a movie
Yeah.
like this? When a joke that I used, when this movie came out, my parents were living in Florida, and they saw it in a porno theater.
Oh no.
74. Double feature. Second feature was Debbie Does Dialysis. So you put this all together, you can't make this stuff up.
Oh yeah. I love it. Well, and then of course, last thing, hopefully we'll get to see you both doing something special again together soon.
I hope
Could
so.
very well be. As you probably might have seen at the end of the movie, we do a joke a sequel
Mhm.
coming up, but we actually have made some notes on that. So it's all going to count on the fans. Alan's got a million of them. We love them. And we just really hope that they enjoy the movie as much as we had fun making it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was a lot of fun. We're gonna tell everyone to check it out, and I really appreciate the time, the great stories, and looking forward to talking to both of you again soon.
Thanks. Same
Terrific.
here.
Thanks a lot. Had a
Okay,
great
thank you
time.
both so much. Okay,
And,
bye-bye. Oh yeah.
and Paul, you know, the catch that he made on fourth down in that
Yeah,
Vikings game before the Hail Mary, you guys have probably talked about it a bunch of times. That was probably the most important catch in that game. So
that's
he
right.
he's amazing. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, thank you so much. All right, I'll see you soon.